Thank you. I am so happy to be here today to get to tell all of you about something that is very important to me, something that I believe with my heart and soul, and that is that the end of violence against women and girls begins with men and boys. So I'm going to ask you a really easy question. Who knows what to do if a man has an erection for more than 4 hours? Show me your hands. Come on. I told you it was easy. Call your doctor. Seek medical advice. This is not hard. Sorry. That wasn't part of my talk. Okay, now seriously, what are you going to do tonight if you go home and your sister calls you and she says that she's been beaten by her husband? Or who knows what to do if your daughter calls from college and she's been date raped? Let me see a show of hands. What does this say about our society and what we value? What does this say about our culture? When we are so comfortable having public conversations about private health issues that affect a very small percentage of the male population. And yet we're unprepared and uncomfortable having a conversation that is about a situation that is as pervasive, atrocious, and preventable as violence against women and girls. This is a picture of Dana Ford and his family. Dana is a very dear friend, and he is a wonderful coach. He is the head basketball coach at TSU. That's his beautiful wife and his 3 kids. Dana grew up in a home with domestic violence. His mother was a victim, and his grandmother was a victim. So as an adult male, Dana really had 3 choices. He could grow up and be a batterer and continue the cycle. He could grow up and ignore the violence and let the cycle go on around him. Or he could grow up and do what he's done, which is become a man who's passionate about stopping violence against women and girls. And why is he working so hard? Because Dana is doing everything in his power to make sure his sons do not grow up to be batterers, and to make sure his daughter does not grow up to be a victim. And he's taken this passion to the basketball court. He actually has a motto that he shares with his whole team. If you abuse women and girls, you lose your scholarship. If you abuse, you lose. Think of the message that those boys are getting from Coach Ford. Those 15 boys' lives are altered because of what he is telling them to do. Dana is doing what I want every man in this audience to do, what I want every man who watches this video to do, what I want every man who is a good man to do. Dana is using his influence as a man and as a coach to role model the behavior that does not support violence. He's teaching a different way to treat women and girls. And then he focuses on what's really important. He has said time and time again, I don't know what percentage of my boys will ever play professional sports, but I know 100% of them have the chance to be a great man. Violence against women and girls hurts everyone, not just the women and girls. They say in the United States that over 15.5 million children will witness domestic violence in their homes this year. All those children are victims. And I have come to learn that men are victims of violence against women as well. Kind of surprising, but I have talked to so many men, and this gentleman told me just the other day, he's 50, that at the age of 10, his sister was killed by an abusive boyfriend. And here's the catch. He knew the relationship was volatile, but she swore him to secrecy. And so when his parents told him, a 10-year-old boy, that his sister had been strangled by her boyfriend, not only did he suffer the grief, but he felt responsible. So at the age of 50, his whole life, 40 years, he's carried that responsibility and that guilt with him. He is a victim of violence against women and girls. So how do we break the cycle? It's just what I'm saying. To break the cycle, good men need to stand up and get involved, because the end of violence against women and girls starts with men. Why men? Well, first of all, y'all know that you are very important, right? Every man in this audience matters. The second reason is you're 50% of the population, and women have been working on this for a long time. Another really important reason is men listen to other men. So if you're a good man and you talk about this, other men will hear you. But for me, probably one of the most important reasons is boys will listen to men as well. And that's the change in the future that I want. Violence against women is a man's issue. Violence against women is a man's issue. Men are responsible for over 90% of all intimate partner violence that women experience in their lifetime. That's the big reason. It is the few bad guys that are doing all this damage, and the good men are being quiet. As I mentioned, women would have solved this problem years ago. We've been working on it for decades, but we know we can't do it alone. We've left men out of the conversation, and it's time for you to get in with both feet. So imagine it's the year 2012 or 2020, and Robin Roberts is interviewing the mayor of Nashville, and we've just been awarded the #1 city in the nation for women and children. It's the safest place in the country for women and children to go. And Robin's saying, what did you do in Nashville to eliminate domestic violence, to eliminate rape, to eliminate trafficking? And our mayor is answering, it was the men that stepped up and out. We got a long way to go though, guys and ladies. Today in the United States, 3 women will die at the hands of a man who says he loves her. 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence at some time in their life, and 1 in 5 women will experience rape or sexual assault. And it's no better in Tennessee. Tennessee currently ranks 10th in the nation at the rate at which men kill women. And the average age of a young girl who enters the world of trafficking is 13. And 63% of female-related homicides are due to domestic violence. We have a lot of work to do here. We have a lot of work to do in Nashville. We have a lot of work to do in the country. But do these statistics really matter? I mean, they're just numbers, right? But they matter if you're a woman or a girl and you live in Tennessee. And they should matter if you love a woman or a girl who lives in Tennessee. President Carter's recent book, he talks about violence against women and calls it the most pervasive and unaddressed human rights issue in our country. And for those of you who saw the Grammys last year when Blurred Lines was the #1 song for so long. I heard it initially, I thought it had a good beat, you might be able to dance to it, but I listened to the words. And then I watched that really awful video, the naked one. And I wondered, I just thought, does Robin Thicke understand that the millions of times that kids heard those lyrics, Blurred Lines, that all that work that we've done to teach young men and young women about consensual sex just went out the window? Because what we're trying to teach them is yes, everything else is rape, and there are no blurred lines. And then we had the Ray Rice video. everybody was talking about domestic violence. And unfortunately, everybody saw what domestic violence really looked like. As I mentioned, women have been working on this issue for years, and our focus has been a little more intervention than prevention. We teach women how to stay safe, and we teach women how to deal with being a victim. But what we haven't been teaching is how to keep boys and men from being batterers, or how to keep boys and men from being a rapist. So this is a question to the men in the audience. How often do you worry about your personal safety? Every day. Well, I'm telling you, for women, it's just like breathing. We think about our personal safety all the time. We change our behaviors all the time to stay safe. We are taught not to leave drinks on a bar and go to the bathroom. We're taught not to run alone. We're taught not to travel alone. We're taught not to wear our hair in a pigtail and not to wear heels if we think we're going to need to run. We're even taught not to smile at strangers. But the reality is we don't need to be worried about the strangers. The violence in our lives is coming from men we know. I hate this tweet, and I love this tweet. I hate it because it's so real, and I love it because it's so real. Now, I love men. Two of the most important people in my life are my husband and my son. My son was raised in a household where my husband spoke to me with respect. I am his equal. My son respects me. That's what we need men to do. We need men to role model. Because things can change if men say they're going to change. Men listen to other men. Boys listen to men. Boys do what they see men do. So why do we have coaches that say things like, "You throw like a girl"? Why do we have men say, "Quit being a sissy"? Or that horrible term, "You're a pussy"? And I have now learned there are new words that I don't even want to bring up today that we wouldn't even understand that young boys are using to describe girls. Why do men need to say something derogatory about women and girls in order to talk about another man's bad behavior? Let's stop that. And I've said all along, there are great men. The majority of men in our world are great. There are very few bad men. It's the good men that need to stand up. One of the reasons why violence against women is so tolerated in our culture today is because of what's called objectification. Webster says the definition of objectification is treating a person as an object. I say the definition of objectification is when the pleasure of a man trumps the discomfort of a woman. We see images every day. We hear songs every day. We hear words every day that degrade, dehumanize, objectify, and exploit women. Why? Why does this have to be? According to the Department of Justice, domestic violence is the most chronically unreported crime in the United States. According to some sources, 50% to 80% of all rapes never reported. Why is that? I think it's for a couple reasons. The continuous cover-up that occurs and victim blaming. For a long, long time, violence against women that occurred in the workplace, on college campuses, even in our military, went unrecognized, unpunished. But today, things can be different. One of the methods that was used to keep women from reporting violence was actually degrading the woman. making her the problem. I mean, after all, isn't it her fault that she got raped? Today on college campuses, they say 50% of all rapes are by serial rapists. And a serial rapist rapes 7 times before he is found out. When we create a culture of silence, we give violence power. When women are quiet, they give violence power. When men keep women quiet, it gives violence power. So let me tell you a horrible story about a woman I know who was raped and sodomized in her backyard, and she screamed and her neighbors heard, and they didn't come. But if there'd been a fire, they would have called the fire department. If there'd been someone breaking in, they would have called the police. But violence against women is also a public crime. It is not a private matter. 82,000 children are witnessing domestic violence here in Middle Tennessee. Half of those are boys. What if all the men in Nashville intentionally, more consciously spoke about women in a different way? Remember, it's easier to grow strong children than to repair broken men. If there's no violence, everybody wins. So let me just close by saying to the women in the audience, if you're the 1 in 4, there is help. You do not need to live that way. If you're going home to a great man, get him involved in this initiative. And if you're a man in the audience, close your eyes and imagine you have a daughter. And imagine she's dating someone just like you. Does that make you smile? If not, change. Thank you.